Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. In the 5th year of my marriage with Vincent, I overheard him talking about me to his childhood friend. Linda is great in every way, just not pretty. She's embarrassing to take out. Later, his beautiful first love returned to the country. He took her for a midnight drive and got seriously injured saving her. As usual, I quietly handed over the divorce papers without making a scene. He stared at the divorce papers, looking somewhere between sad and mocking. Linda, you really never did love me, did you? Vincent got drunk again, and I had just finished organizing my work when I got the call. The clock read midnight, and I drove to the largest bar in Philadelphia. The hallway on the top floor was quiet, making the voices in the private room even clearer. Linda, she's great in every way, just not pretty. She's embarrassing to take out. The man's voice was lazy and dull, like a stagnant pond. I pushed open the door, and the room went silent for a moment. His childhood friend nudged him. Vincent, Linda's here to pick you up. Vincent lazily raised his eyes and suddenly smiled, reaching out to me. Let's go home. I've lost count of how many times this has happened. The last time was because of rumors between Gina and another celebrity. The time before, he left a shareholders meeting early because of some news about Gina. Today, during a negotiation with clients, he suddenly left without a word. I was left apologizing to everyone on his behalf. This time, what's the reason? I nodded to the others and supported him, his weight almost fully leaning on me. Someone suddenly called out to me, looking hesitant. Gina's back in town. Be careful. I nodded without saying much. So he's acting out again because Gina's back. Linda. He slurred, half drunken, half sober. She's back. The car window was half open, and a chilly breeze blew in. After a few seconds, he suddenly sobered up, looking at my profile and chuckling. Linda, you're really boring. It was the second time today he said I was boring. I guess someone more interesting has returned. I just hummed softly, not arguing back. This was typical of our relationship. Vincent would act out, wanting the world to know he despised me, and I always dealt with it in silence. He looked down on me, thought I wasn't pretty, not gentle, not interesting. He could always find 100 faults in me. Marrying me was just to fulfill Howard's last wish, or so he said. If my dad hadn't died working as a driver for the Smiths, and if Grandpa hadn't taken me into his home out of pity, I might have attended an ordinary college, worked a 9-to-5 job, and married an average man. No chance of ever crossing paths with someone from his world, let alone marrying the Smiths' only heir. When Grandpa was on his deathbed, everyone wanted a piece of the Smiths. The uncles were circling like vultures. The stock was plummeting, and a major land investment was suddenly seized by the state, pushing the Smiths to the brink of bankruptcy. And where was Vincent? Chasing Gina abroad? Phone switched off, unreachable. Until I showed up at his foreign apartment with bodyguards. He was drunk out of his mind, and I had him tied up. The pampered little prince had never suffered such indignity, pinned to the ground, glaring at me with bloodshot eyes. Howard had forced Gina to break up with him, and his dying wish was for me to marry Vincent. Grandpa's sick. He wants me to marry you, Linda. I don't know what tricks you used to win him over, but I'll never like you, let alone marry you. I looked down at the man on the floor and suddenly remembered when he was 17. Sitting on the couch, lifting his head to kiss me. Linda, I think I kinda like you. It stirred my heart, only to be brutally cut short in the end. I slowly leaned back on the couch. Grandpa has temporarily given me control. If you don't marry me today, I can't guarantee that something won't happen to your beloved's company. I met his hateful eyes and spoke softly. You might have inherited your grandpa's and dad's business acumen, an uncut gem, but the Smiths don't have time to wait for you to mature. Of course, you can choose to hold on to your shares, watch others slowly tear the Smiths apart, and continue your lavish life. He stared at me in a daze and in the end, chose to return to our home country to marry me. I was raised by Howard as his successor, and after graduating from college, he taught me everything personally. Vincent and Howard never got along since childhood, so Vincent never liked any of this. I needed a legitimate opportunity to take over the Smiths, and marrying Vincent was undoubtedly the fastest way. Later, when Howard passed away, Vincent and I maintained the appearance of a loving couple during those turbulent years for the Smiths. Even Vincent grew up quickly. He really inherited Howard and his father's business acumen, being decisive and ruthless without bloodshed. Only after we settled the restless factions in the Smiths and the company stabilized did Vincent revert to his old lazy self. Since that day, Vincent hadn't come home for half a month. But the company's PR department had already suppressed several photos of Vincent and Gina. When the assistant placed another photo of him dining with Gina in front of me, I dialed his number. There was a lot of background noise on the other end, mingled with the wind and a man's faint laughter. Linda. I tilted my head back, holding back the tears. Vincent, the company has stabilized over these years. Grandpa's wish has been fulfilled. Our marriage wasn't my idea initially. If that person you love is back, we can divorce. Vincent and Gina had had a passionate relationship back then. If Gina's father hadn't forced her to break up with Vincent and go abroad, they might have been married long ago. Over the years, I had often seen him get emotional over another woman. His voice turned cold on the other end. So what are you trying to say? The wind grew louder, and suddenly I felt uneasy. Vincent, where are you? The call was abruptly cut off, and a sharp pain twisted in my stomach. I leaned over. Desk breaking out in a cold sweat, I saw my pale face reflected in the glass pane. It seemed my stomachache was acting up again. Closing my eyes, sadness washed over me all at once. Things that aren't meant to be yours will eventually have to be returned. In my pain-clouded mind, I suddenly thought of the first time I met Vincent. Vincent was 14 then, tall and handsome, his entire head buried in his hoodie. He looked annoyed and didn't want to speak to me. I later found out that Grandpa had to bribe him with pocket money to come pick me up. The journey was long, and I threw up in the car until there was nothing left. He extended a warm bottle of milk to me. I remember that hand reaching out in the dim light, almost glowing. Later, we attended the same middle school. First, he didn't dislike me as much as he does now. He would bike me to school because of my car sickness and would find me when I was locked in the girls' bathroom. As the scene changed, a lazy, mischievous teenager was tugging my ponytail. I'm heading to the internet cafe this afternoon. Snitch on me and you're dead. As if thinking of something, he put his arm around my shoulder. To be safe, you better come with me. So in the internet cafe, he played games while I slowly did my homework next to him. At night, unsurprisingly, he was punished again in the cool night air of the front yard. He knelt upright and winked at me. I never understood why he always liked to provoke Grandpa. The year we graduated from middle school, the class went to the beach to see fireworks. I was forgotten on a deserted road. I walked along the road for what seemed like forever until Vincent rode up on his bike. His face was full of genuine concern. Years later, I still remembered his anxious face. His clothes were dusty, and his voice seemed to carry a sob. Linda, you scared me to death. Linda, are you scared? Leaning against his thin back, my heart pounded suddenly. The scene changed again. 17-year-old Vincent knelt on the carpet. Outside, the pines were covered in snow. The room was warm and cozy. He looked up and kissed my lips. Linda, I think I'm kind of into you. I stared at his long eyelashes, feeling a bit like crying. And so we clumsily started dating. Later, I pushed myself harder. Vincent didn't like learning the business skills, so I learned from Howard, completing one task after another, striving to become the best in Howard's eyes. Howard grew more satisfied with me, hired etiquette teachers for me, introduced me to everyone, and proudly said I was his dearest granddaughter. It only took 2 years to transform from a timid girl into a decisive and smart professional. Among the granddaughters-in-law Howard picked, there were always equally distinguished and beautiful ladies, never me. He always looked for strong alliances. It took almost all my courage to walk up to him, seeking a lasting chance with Vincent. Grandpa, can you consider me? Howard looked at me, seemingly not expecting me to say such a thing. He sighed in the end. But Linda, this path is tough. You might realize Vincent is just a stupid jerk and regret your decision today. I lowered my head, my voice hoarse. I'm not afraid. I got busier and busier with more to learn and met Vincent less and less. Every time we met, he was either getting beaten by Howard or on his way to a beating. Vincent started hating me. Back then he moved out and we saw each other less and less. Later, at the school basketball game, he especially asked me to bring him water. I looked up from my book and caught his smiling eyes. "You're my girlfriend, right? Other girlfriends bring water." The game was exciting. I happily went over, but he never looked at me. He hugged a girl who suddenly rushed out from behind him. Everyone knew Vincent and Gina were together. Yesterday, who would still eagerly play the sidekick role? Malice came from all directions, laced with contempt and ridicule. I slowly pulled back my hand, the cold bottle sending chills through my body. I just stared at Vincent, looking into his slightly mocking eyes. "Really?" I took 2 steps forward, looked up slightly, and saw his blatant malicious smile and obvious arrogance. "Linda, you don't seriously think I would like you, right? Just a parasite living in my house, thinking you're part of the family." He reached out and tapped my forehead. "Use your pig brain and think. Could I possibly like you? I just felt sorry for you." He said that saying he liked me back then was just out of pity. It's been so long I can hardly recall how I felt then. But arriving in Philadelphia, being ostracized because of my accent, being bullied by classmates because I was close to Vincent, living in constant fear of making the family hate me, breaking down over not understanding complex and boring things. All of that didn't hurt as much as that day when his cold, harsh eyes cut through my heart, letting the cold wind rush in. So cold I tilted my head slightly and smiled. "Then Vincent, we break up." Later, Vincent said that back then I was starting to resemble Howard more and more, treating people with the same indifference. I think he might be right. If it were the old me, I probably wouldn't have been able to face the humiliation from the boy I like so calmly. Vincent had a car accident and was being rushed into surgery. The moment I hung up, I saw a notification on my phone. Gina suspected of being in a serious car accident during a race. I arrived at the hospital distraught. Many in the comments wondered who the man causing Gina's distress was. With trembling hands, I clicked and saw the wristband on the person in the ambulance. That was the peace bracelet he got for us in our 3rd year of marriage from a temple, with a small gold lock on it. My bracelet was locked away in a drawer. I called a friend who was usually with Vincent and got the backstory. There was a small race at the club tonight. Vincent and Gina participated. During the race, they crashed into another car. To protect Gina in the passenger seat, Vincent got seriously hurt. I pled guilty, Linda. I didn't know it would turn out like this, but I really didn't mean it. With Vincent's skills, he could have avoided the crash entirely in the dimly lit parking garage. My head rested on the steering wheel for a long time before I started the car and left. Going home, I turned on the lights, set the air conditioner to the lowest temperature, curled under the blanket, and fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, sometimes I was a teenager holding Vincent's hands secretly. Sometimes it was of him carrying me home drunk after celebratory drinks. Sometimes it was Vincent lying in the hospital, his fate unknown. I'd wake up scared seeing it's already daylight outside. The food delivery had arrived, and a message from my assistant came through. Vincent had a head injury, a severe concussion, but his life wasn't in danger. In the hospital room, the man was out of danger. Through the window of the hospital door, I saw him lying on the bed, pale, his head wrapped in bandages. He was staring in the window's direction. Beneath the window, a woman was lying on the sofa, her long black hair draped over her shoulders. I quietly watched for a while before turning and leaving. In the room, he seemed to sense something. He looked up but saw nothing. I went on with my work, and my assistant updated me on Vincent daily. A week passed without a word between us. Neither of us reached out. Assistant John gave me a look. "The company's not busy these days, and there aren't many meetings, boss. Vincent seems really down. Maybe you should check on him." I sorted out the tasks to hand over, nearing the end. At the bottom of the stack of documents was a divorce agreement. Initially, I learned business management from Grandpa to match Vincent. But when the one family faced trouble and the once mighty figure came to me for help, I had only one thought: to protect the one family. He had been kind to me. If not for Howard, I might have dropped out of school early, got a regular job, and married a regular man like other girls in town. After losing all my relatives, someone gave me a home. Howard was strict, but his gaze was mostly gentle. I nervously accepted this kindness from someone not related to me, and worked my hardest to repay it. In the 2 years I was married to Vincent, I faced many threats. brakes tampered with, nearly hit by a truck, crazed attackers in malls seeking revenge. Each incident was aimed to take our lives, yet those years were the warmest in our marriage. We trusted each other completely, inseparable, always together. Then I had a miscarriage and was in a coma for a long time. When he was good to someone, he would give them the best of everything. It made me believe he truly loved me. One day, looking forward to our future, he got drunk and spoke with bitter hate and mockery. "Linda, you think I don't know you buttered up Grandpa just to marry me for money? You don't honestly believe I like you. You're still as easy to deceive as ever. You think I could love you? Really?" I stared blankly at his drunken face. Ken faced and bitterly smiled. Good thing I almost believed he loved me again. In the afternoon, returning home, Vincent was already discharged, sitting in the dining room, slowly having his porridge. The afternoon sun fell on his shoulders. He looked up at me, his eyes shining. "Linda is always so busy." The moment he opened his mouth, there was a hint of sarcasm. I ignored him, put my bag down, and went to the closet to change. He followed me, still with injuries on his face, watching my movements. He shouted a few times, and seeing my impatience, he looked inexplicably somewhat aggrieved. "I was in the hospital for 7 days. You didn't visit once. My visit is useless. The doctor's visit is what matters." He lowered his eyes, smirked a bit, but said nothing, and turned to leave. When I came out after my shower, I saw Vincent leaning on the couch, flipping through a document. He glanced up at me. A quick smile flickered and then vanished. It seemed like he thought it was the biggest joke ever. "You want a divorce?" I dried my damp hair, eyes calm, and just nodded with a light As I sat across from him, I said, "I've had a lawyer draft the property division. You can take a look. The shares were left by Grandpa, so those are premarital. I only took what I deserve. This house was a gift from you and has my name on it, so it's mine. So are you going to kick me out after I sign?" He still held the divorce agreement in his hand. Due to an emotional breakdown, he laughed, his face an unreadable mix of mockery. He looked up at me and suddenly said, "Sometimes I feel you're truly Howard's student. You two are very alike. No matter if someone cries, makes trouble, throws tantrums, or acts irrational, you never care. You always stay cold as if it's someone else's business, even if it's the closest person to you." Howard was domineering and strict, using corporal punishment on boys. Since I was a girl, he was relatively kinder, but many times still scolded me to the point of utter shame. Vincent never liked him, but I thought many times Howard's choices, while hurtful, were the best decisions. Even before he died, he paved the way for Vincent. Even if Vincent was unwilling to marry me, with Howard's downfall, he left enough money to ensure Vincent's wealthy and carefree life. I don't understand why he hates Howard so much. Seeing my silence, he suddenly tore up the divorce agreement in anger. "Linda, wasn't I good to you these past years? Whatever you wanted, I gave you. When you were sick, I took care of you, making sure you didn't burn yourself with soup. When you came home exhausted, I bathed you. Have you ever seen me serve anyone like that before? I even respected your wishes in bed. Linda, do you have no heart?" Back then, Vincent was indeed very good to me. Once he said he wanted to surprise me and took me hiking. The mountain was high. I climbed for a long time and eventually refused to move further. It was a scenic area with a paved road, not steep, so he carried me step by step. At night, the wind was strong and I felt sleepy, vaguely hearing his helpless voice. "Linda, you seem a bit thinner. Aren't you curious what the surprise is?" I remember the cool mountain breeze that night, the city lights below like stars, the fireworks rising and dazzling. I turned to look just as a gentle kiss landed on my lips. It is known as the City of Fireworks, with the most unique and beautiful displays. We made up for the missed seaside fireworks that year. When Vincent loves someone, he's a great lover. But when he dislikes someone, he's cruel and mean. I snapped out of my thoughts, wanting to say something, but then heard his soft and somewhat confused voice. He said, "Maybe you won't believe this, but I really love you." After saying this, his face suddenly turned pale, and he collapsed on the couch. Worried, I supported him, looking at the bandage on his head, feeling strangely amused, and so I laughed. Not long ago, he seemed deeply in love with Gina, even getting injured protecting her. I couldn't understand. Risking your life for someone, isn't that love? But now he says he loves me. Vincent, I asked. The doctor said your head was stitched with 28 stitches, just narrowly missing a fatal injury. Vincent has been pampered since childhood, extremely afraid of pain. The worst he had experienced was a minor beating from Howard. So, I really believe you love Gina a lot to risk your life for her. I think you two are a good match. I've seen them eating in the cafeteria together, getting caught for early romance during a flag-raising ceremony, and their college scooter racing videos. They looked perfect together, both in appearance and interests, so vibrant and compatible. Compared to them, my time with Vincent was so plain like water, making it seem remarkably dull and gray. Perhaps Vincent doesn't even remember. Vincent and Gina were the school couple everyone admired, while I was the girl who cried silently in a corner. She was the mistress trying to sabotage others' relationships, too cowardly to even confront anyone. You and I were just holding each other back. After saying this, I even smiled, feeling an unexpected calm in my heart. I knew this day would come from the moment we got married. Grandpa didn't approve of you and Gina before, but now you can finally be together. And what about us? I sighed. Vincent, we can't be a couple. We're not suited to be a couple. He silently watched me, making my heart feel a little uneasy. Looking at me, he explained, "This accident was my mistake. I got distracted, causing the crash. I just didn't want innocent people to get hurt, but it wasn't out of love. It's been 5 years. I stopped loving her long ago. You can't use that as a reason for divorce." I looked down, mindlessly drying my hair, waiting for his next words. "I don't love her anymore, Linda. I don't love her." He lifted his hand and pulled me into his arms. I looked at the wedding photo hanging prominently on the living room wall. To this day, I can still remember how it felt to wear a wedding dress for the first time. There was still a bit of a girl's heart in me, especially since I was marrying someone I'd liked since my teenage years, but Vincent didn't like me back then. In that wedding photo, his face was delicate but exceptionally cold. There wasn't a hint of a smile. Right after the shoot, he leaned over and mocked me. "Linda, I've heard you haven't dated anyone all these years. You still like me, don't you?" I turned to look at him without saying a word. I knew that with someone like Vincent, the more you talk, the more he'd push his luck. If you stay silent, he'll lose interest and stop bothering you. I closed my eyes and whispered in his ear, "Vincent, if you've stopped loving Gina after all these 5 years, then take another 5 years to fall in love with someone else." His body went rigid. After a while, he stepped back, his hands on my shoulders. I looked into his eyes and saw them slightly red. After a long pause, he let out a bitter laugh. "Linda, you really never loved me." Vincent and I parted ways unhappily. Vincent had been spending all his time at the office lately. After wrapping up my work, I took some time off and went shopping with friends. I rarely had any free time since undergoing Howard's elite education. I was either in class or on my way to class every day. After finally graduating early, I hurriedly took over the company. I told Anna about my plans to divorce Vincent. The pretty woman sipping on a straw just chuckled. "That's good. We've been friends for years, and she's the only one who knows about Vincent and me." When we got tired of walking, we sat on a bench by the street. The seasons in Philly changed drastically. It seemed like it was summer just a few days ago, and now it suddenly turned to fall. "I thought you might try to stop me from getting a divorce." I laughed. To everyone else, even though I was smart and capable, I was seen as someone marrying up by being with Vincent. Anna leaned on my shoulder. "Linda, from the first time I saw you, I felt you were tired. You always seem so nice to everyone. But I feel like your heart is barren, like nothing can grow. You care too much about those who've been kind to you, and are too afraid of not having anyone connected to you." When I broke up with Vincent in high school, it was like I came down with a severe flu. Both my body and spirit were exhausted like never before. It was unbearably painful, and I cried under my blanket at night. But the next morning, I still had to study those prearranged courses. Howard valued me greatly. I was his ideal granddaughter, considerate, obedient, and never rebellious. I dreaded seeing disappointment in his eyes, so I was always on edge, never daring to slack off, strictly following all his demands. "So Linda, happy divorce?" He tore up the divorce agreement so I had someone send it again. Whenever he opened his eyes, he'd see the already signed agreement. This went on for 2 months. Anna and I traveled the country, And then I returned to my old home. The old house had been torn down years ago and replaced with a new white 2-story building. Vincent kept sending, "Linda, do you have a heart? Are you planning to spend your whole life like this with me? I miss you." The messages kept coming, flooding my phone screen.
Linda, I'm sorry.
I love you. Anna leaned over and glanced at the messages. He seems to really like you. Maybe I played with a translucent white porcelain bottle, placed it on the table in the yard, and inserted a sunflower. But a person can like many people. In high school, he said he liked me and I believed him. Later, when we got married, he said it many times too, but he easily abandoned me in high school, making me a joke in others' eyes. After marriage, he was still thinking about Gina, even willing to risk his life for her. His friend said that with Vincent's driving skills, he couldn't have dodged that car. I guess it's just that people get irrational when they care. Besides, he doesn't really like me. Didn't he say he likes you? Anna frowned. Maybe he feels humiliated that I filed for divorce and wants to mess with me. And anyway, I haven't liked him for a long time. A man's tired and slightly angry voice interrupted. I turned around and saw Vincent, looking disheveled and windblown. His hair a mess, but those beautiful eyes staring at me. This scene oddly overlapped with the boy from years ago who came to pick me up. His face grim as if someone owed him money. He spoke word by word. "Linda, you were hard to find." Anna went back the day after Vincent came. I went with Vincent to see her off. The return trip was unusually silent. The town was decked out in Christmas decorations, maybe because it was nearing Christmas. "Aren't you going back?" I broke the silence. Vincent's family always gathers to have a meal on Christmas. "Will you come with me?" he asked. I lowered my head, burying my face in my scarf, my voice a bit weary. "Vincent, I'm serious. I don't like you anymore. I'm very grateful for everything your family has done for me, but Vincent, I'm tired. From the day I entered that study, I've been on edge, always with a taut string in my mind. A child raised under someone else's roof learns to watch people's faces. I always feared I'd misstep. Later, I took over the company. I didn't dare slack off, afraid that one wrong decision could plunge the company into crisis. My body eventually broke down and I miscarried. That little life arrived at the worst time. The company was at a critical stage in a bidding war. The child came suddenly and left just as suddenly. I reached my physical and mental limits, leading to a long period of unconsciousness in the hospital. Vincent lifted his arm and held me close. "It's snowing," he said, tightening his embrace so I couldn't pull away. "Linda, let me hold you a little longer." His voice trembled slightly. "Did you ever like me?" He kept asking that same question over and over in the snowy weather. I closed my eyes, feeling the melting snowflakes turn to water on my face. The year I liked him the most, it felt like a dagger was stabbed into my heart. 4 years we shared, the old wounds never healing. Even after we got married, I still liked him, but it was exhausting. Liking someone made me so tired. Even thinking about his past with someone else would make me inexplicably sad. I didn't want to feel this way. "Linda, you've never liked me," he said, burying his face in my neck. "Linda, you've never said you liked me. No matter what, even when I nearly died in the hospital from surgery, you didn't visit me once. When I got discharged, you couldn't wait to divorce me. Linda, you make me feel like a joke. Your heart seems untouchable. You only remember the bad things about me, but haven't you been cruel to me too?" The next day, I went to buy a lot of decorations. Vincent worked from home. I stood on a stool in front of the Christmas tree, hanging ornaments. Looking up, I saw Vincent in the second-floor window. He watched me silently, lost in thought. We went to the riverside to set off fireworks. By the time we got back, it was 10 p.m. I walked slowly in front and he followed beside me. Suddenly he asked, "When I came that day, I overheard you talking to your friend. You said you didn't like me anymore. I want to know, during those years of marriage, did you ever like me?" I thought about it but didn't answer directly. "Vincent, I really don't like you anymore. During those years of marriage, I felt something for him, but each time he acted recklessly for Gina, leaving me to clean up the mess and apologize. Those feelings faded. Moreover, I lifted my head and smiled. "Vincent, do you think I'm really stupid? That no matter what you say or do, just because you say you love me, I should come running and accept it?" His face turned pale as if he wanted to explain. "Linda, no, it's not like that. You've hurt me, haven't you? I stepped back. The streetlights illuminated the snow-covered ground. In high school, you said you liked me, then you cheated on me and even humiliated me publicly, making others think I was just a mistress. Because you were good-looking and rich, people thought I was clinging to you. I pressed my lips together. Howard said I'd regret it. At that time, I did regret it because I thought you were pretty lousy. Back then, all I did was eat, sleep, and study. My basics were so bad I couldn't compare to kids who went to international schools. Even now, thinking back, it was tough. But the knowledge I gained stayed with me. I really wanted a future with Vincent. After marriage, just like you said, you treated me well, so well that I almost believed you loved me. But just as I was about to fall for you, you told me you were playing with me. People always get hurt repeatedly. Even knowing he's bad. Even knowing he doesn't love me. Even knowing he treats this relationship like a game. I kept getting my heart broken. Letting him hurt me over and over. You know the story of the boy who cried wolf, right? Vincent's eyes turned red. I turned and walked forward. The streetlights made the snowy scene even more beautiful. I'm sorry, Linda. Vincent quickly caught up. Are we still friends? Even if we get a divorce, can we still be friends? I saw tears and confusion in his eyes and finally a glimmer of hope. Linda, if we divorce, will that end everything? I looked up. We're family. He lowered his head, snowflakes hanging on his eyelashes, melting on his face like tears. He kissed my forehead. Then let's be family. Vincent left town after New Year's. We finalized the divorce. Separation was the best choice for us at the time. He didn't pester me anymore. Just sent me daily updates about trivial matters. But I didn't expect to run into Gina here. Her new movie set was in this town. She seemed surprised to see me. At that time, I looked a bit disheveled. We both knew of each other and understood each other's situations, but it seemed like our first formal meeting. She walked over, eyes curved into a smile. Should I call you Linda? I thought for a moment. You can call me Linda. Being friends with an ex-husband's first love wasn't something I could do. But Gina was filming in town for about 3 months. She didn't know anyone else and became a frequent guest at my house for meals. She wasn't used to it, but after tasting my cooking, she wouldn't leave. I spent my days learning pottery from local masters and posted videos on an international video platform, which surprisingly gained a lot of attention. One day, while Gina happily ate noodles, she said, "It's delicious. No wonder Vincent likes you so much. By the way, why are you here alone? Did you fight with Vincent?" Resting my chin on my hand, I looked at her. We got divorced. She was a bit shocked. I thought you two just had an argument. I felt like Vincent genuinely liked you. Last time you called, he was so distracted he almost caused an accident with me at the hospital. He didn't say it, but I felt he was always waiting for you to visit him. I remembered the call I made when he had the accident. I talked about our divorce then. I bit my lip. Gina looked somewhat sorrowful. I've been following your updates often. If it weren't for Vincent, we might have been friends. Same here. I stirred the noodles with my chopsticks, feeling a little lost. I had followed Gina's news too, trying to figure out what kind of person she was. Gina and I smiled at each other. Now that we think about it, it's pretty funny. After shooting her scenes, Gina left. I went back to Philly and used all my money to start a small company that developed a video app. Gina somehow found out. She immediately promoted it, even registered an account, and posted over a minute-long video. Later, the video app inexplicably went viral. Riding the wave, I invited a bunch of A-list celebrities to join. I poured almost all my savings into the initial promotion. Vincent deposited a huge sum into my account. His text was brief. Give me revenue shares. The video app kept getting bigger. Early users became the first people to profit from it. That tiny one-floor company gradually grew bigger. By our 5th anniversary, the company had stabilized. I hired a professional manager to run it and returned to the small town to make porcelain. Occasionally, I'd upload short videos and surprisingly gained a lot of followers. The town became a hot tourist spot thanks to Gina's movie. It's bustling every day now with my videos promoting the porcelain town. The local government even asked me to help with promotions. When my followers surpassed 5 million, I got a message from Vincent. Congratulations. Over the years, he's always been there. He'd come to every holiday meal, never missing any major event in my life, but he kept his distance. I replied, "Thanks, I think it's not bad this way. We've had grievances but not enough to break off completely. After all, Howard did help me out. Let's leave it at that." Epilogue. During these days in the small town, Vincent suddenly started dreaming about the past. Frequently, he dreamed of a big family fight where everything in the house was smashed. His dad was kneeling before Howard, pleading for his so-called true love. Vincent's parents had an arranged marriage with no love before getting together. Even after Vincent was born, there was still no love. Howard didn't agree to the divorce. Divorce involved too many interests. Plus, Vincent's mother was the best daughter-in-law, handpicked by Howard, much like Linda, whom he groomed himself. The scene was chaotic. Howard sat at the head. The mother stood straight by the window, quietly watching the pine trees outside. The father knelt on the ground, silently resisting. To Howard, personal feelings never outweighed the family's century-old business interests. Feelings were the least important in the world. Howard's tone was a little mocking. "How much interest is mixed into your so-called love? If you weren't my son, do you think your true love would still love you? You come to me talking about true love now, but why did you get married back then? You could have refused back then like you are now, even choosing to leave the family and be independent to pursue your so-called true love." The person kneeling was his son, but Howard's words lacked any warmth. "Since you made the choice back then, I won't give you a chance to turn back unless I'm dead." The argument ended unhappily. They were forced apart from their true loves, two people who hated each other, tied together, arguing over trivial things. Howard sent them to a branch overseas. That plane later crashed unexpectedly, claiming both their lives with no remains left. They didn't even have a proper funeral. Vincent remembered crying and begging Howard, kneeling in the yard for a long time, just asking for a simple memorial for them. He remembered the old man's cold eyes, devoid of any warmth, as if his pleas meant nothing. "Your parents were already divorced before they left. They made their choice and weren't part of our family anymore." Howard looked down at Vincent. That was their choice. The look in front of him was terrifyingly cold. Vincent's cries stopped, and he pushed the person away and ran. "I hate you." Vincent often wondered later if Howard had agreed to the divorce that day, not sending them away to cultivate affection. They might not have died. He wouldn't have lost his parents. There was no sorrow in Howard's eyes, only the anger of being defied. It was laughable that his own son's life couldn't earn a shred of remorse or pity. His grandson's pleading cries couldn't grant a decent posthumous mark for his parents. Vincent just wanted a symbolic grave for his parents, but he couldn't even get that. Everything about his parents was cleaned out, leaving only a family photo kept hidden by Vincent. Vincent harbored some hate for Howard. He hated his coldness and insensitivity. Howard wanted him as an heir, wielding a strict cane that often lashed on Vincent's back, unnoticed as Vincent grew. Defying Howard oddly became a form of revenge, especially seeing the disappointment in Howard's eyes brought Vincent immense satisfaction. He was a person, not a robot following Howard's plans. Later, someone new joined the family, Howard's driver's daughter. Howard was attacked by enemies and saved by that driver at the cost of severe injury to himself. He had no parents or wife, just a middle school daughter. Before he died, he begged Howard to help her in the future. The first time he saw Linda, she had a bob with bangs and fair, smooth skin. She looked like fine white porcelain with gentle, calm eyes. Howard told him to treat her well and not to bully her. That was the only time he didn't defy Howard. She was always very cautious. She got carsick and would throw up after a while in a closed space. But still, she huddled in the corner of the car because of her motion sickness for a long time. He took her to school on a bike. She was scared of falling but only dared to lightly tug on his clothes. She always looked so gentle and calm. Even when bullied, she just endured it. Later, Vincent taught a lesson to everyone who bullied her. He suddenly felt protective of this lonely little girl. He knew Linda cried secretly at night. Her father had just passed away, and she was in an unfamiliar place with no one to stand up for her when she was bullied. He got mad at her for not fighting back and scolded her harshly, but Linda just looked up and smiled at him, acting carefree. "They didn't hit me. Saying a few words won't hurt." Vincent later realized she didn't fight back to avoid giving Howard a bad impression. so she endured things when she could. At that time, Vincent didn't understand that feeling protective is the beginning of liking someone. Later, he found her adorable. The way she did homework, made tomato noodles, ran and smiled. All of it brought him joy. But later on, Linda became more like Howard. She didn't show her feelings, and he could no longer see her heart through her eyes. One afternoon, Howard praised Linda in front of him, full of admiration. "Linda is smart. A good match for you. When you're together, she can support you." Vincent rarely heard him praise someone like that, but Howard treated Linda like a piece of merchandise. Because Linda was kind, grateful, and alone, she was easily manipulated to work for them without fear of betrayal. Seeing Howard's satisfaction, Vincent smirked. "You think I'll be like my parents? Letting you have your way." He watched Linda accept Howard's arrangements, becoming a perfect woman fit to be the family's matriarch. For the first time, he felt betrayed. They should have been together. His feelings for her turned sour, and he started to hate Linda. Then he ended their first relationship in a horribly mean way. But Linda showed no reaction. She just looked at him calmly, without crying or anger, as if his tricks were insignificant. She didn't seem to care, making him look foolish. She said, "Vincent, then let's break up." Vincent watched her walk away, feeling bitter. He thought maybe Linda never liked him. She just used him to climb the family ladder. After all, it's almost impossible for a poor kid to rise up the ranks, Vincent thought bitterly. With Linda around, Howard left him alone more. He moved out and started dating Gina. Gina was pretty, lively, and passionate, with similar interests. After high school, being with Gina made him feel free, and he chose the same college as her. He hardly saw Linda over those 5 years, only hearing about her occasionally. She was recommended for scholarships, studied abroad, and won many awards. She had an impressive resume. During holidays, they sometimes crossed paths. Linda would quietly sit, listening without looking at him. She had changed a lot, now wearing makeup and sporting wavy hair. Her timidity was gone, replaced by confidence, though her gentle, calm eyes remained. Later, Howard forced him to marry Linda, using Gina's family business as leverage, pushing her abroad for the first time. Vincent found it funny that the same tactics used on his parents were now used on him. The same drama played out. He chased Gina abroad, but they eventually broke up. "I can't risk my family's downfall to be with you, Vincent. We're not kids. If just loving someone was enough, why is the divorce rate so high? And honestly, you don't love me that much either. Who sneaks around checking alumni websites for top graduates?" Gina said. Vincent asked, "Then why did you date me?" She waved her bracelet. "Come on, you're rich, generous, and good-looking. Dating you was a status symbol." They fell silent, the river wind messing up their hair. Vincent broke the silence. "Sorry for what my grandfather did. I apologize for him. It's fine, I understand. Besides, I'm just staying abroad for a few years. No big deal. I haven't embarrassed myself there yet," Gina said. Vincent smiled a bit at her words. Then she laughed. "See, you're not even mad. Everyone said we were a perfect match, but all these years we never felt like a real couple. You just happen to like the same things I did, confusing you." Vincent disagreed. "That's nonsense. You like me, but you don't love me. Liking is a common emotion for anyone. But loving someone means jealousy, hating everyone who isn't you around them, especially another man. You don't love me, so goodbye, Vincent." Gina explained their breakup wasn't angry or resentful, just like an ordinary day. Vincent wasn't even sad when he was leaving. He saw an unexpected person. Even though the man looked older, he recognized him at a glance. That was Dad, who was said to have died in a plane crash over a decade ago. It seemed like a family inside. A teenage boy, maybe 14 or 15, and a little girl probably about 5 or 6. He heard the boy call the man Daddy. Vincent stood outside the glass window watching the family of 3. His eyes turned red. He could barely breathe. The man inside looked up but didn't recognize him. Vincent didn't know how he left. He went back to his temporary place and called Howard. "Did you know my dad was still alive?" There was silence for a few seconds. He was so tense, like a criminal waiting for a final verdict, that he didn't notice the weak voice on the other end. Years ago, both his parents had lovers outside their marriage. After the divorce, they feared their lovers might get dragged into their mess. Vincent's mom was especially worried her family might get destroyed because of her. So they planned a fake death to escape the marriage. They abandoned their names, their family. They did it so perfectly that if it weren't for a suspicious asset transfer, even Howard might have been fooled. When Howard first found out the truth, he felt relieved, but then he was overwhelmed with anger when he saw Vincent crying, begging for a memorial for his parents. He didn't know how to tell him. He drove them out of the family, warning them never to show up in front of Vincent again. He pretended never to have this son and let Vincent think they were dead. Vincent now knew why Howard didn't reveal the truth. Back then, how could he say it? Your parents didn't want you. They never even considered you. The old man's voice was soft on the other end. Vincent, don't feel sad for people who don't deserve it. Grandpa will give you the best. Vincent didn't know his grandpa was terminally ill. He thought like before he'd pull through. That day, he got drunk until Linda found him. Suddenly Vincent felt angry. He didn't know what he was mad about. He said, "I will never marry you." She looked at his pained face, calmly analyzing the pros and cons. Shortly after, he married Linda. His grandpa passed away. They handled the aftermath and dove right into work, not even processing their grief. But Vincent didn't expect it to be so hard. He regretted not listening to his grandpa before, stumbling around learning so much from Linda. He could feel during that time Linda had a soul-deep weariness. She was more mature and calm than a few years ago, hiding sharpness and gentleness. She made decisive decisions, mitigating losses immediately. But she was too rational, so rational that she only saw the potential losses behind everything. Later, he was drugged by his uncle, who tried to create a scandal. When he woke up, Linda was beside him, sleeping peacefully and lazily. He blushed. It was his Fi. Linda didn't react much, calmly explaining the whole story. It summed up to one thing. It was an accident. He knew it was an accident and half forced, half seduced her into it, but her attitude still annoyed him. Linda responded with a simple without any intention of arguing. Vincent got angrier. Linda always had a way of pissing him off with her nonchalant manner. He didn't know how he fell for Linda again, just that when he saw her after waking up, he thought it wouldn't be bad to spend his life with her. This feeling was stronger than a few years ago, so strong that he wanted all of Linda's affection. He suddenly understood Gina's words. He knew he had done many hurtful things in his teenage years. Unsure how to make up for it, he tried to be overly good to her, offering what he thought was best. She was always indifferent. It was hard to see strong emotions in her eyes, but her heart remained cold. She smiled at him, met his demands occasionally, and unconsciously relied on him, but Vincent felt no love from her. Then Linda had a miscarriage. Her health was too poor, failing all indicators, and she was in a coma. At the hospital, Vincent felt panic again. He just wanted her to be safe just to be safe. Later, after Linda recovered and was discharged, one day he received a call from her doctor. "Miss Linda, you have scheduled a termination next week. Please come for a full body checkup this week." Vincent felt like he was falling into an ice pit. He hung up, feeling a sudden sense of irony. He felt mocked by everything he had done in the past 2 years. He thought he could move her heart. He thought Linda might have liked him a little, but she didn't like him. She didn't tell him about the pregnancy. Even without the accident, this child would never have been born. Linda didn't even want to inform him. Suddenly, he thought about his parents faking their deaths, considering everything but him. Because they didn't love, because he doesn't love her, and because he's not important, there's no need to care about his thoughts. He put down his phone. Just then Linda walked out of the bathroom. Her face was calm, her arms pale and slender, with only the watch she always wore. "Where's the bracelet I got for you?" Vincent asked. "I put it away," Linda replied, lowering her eyes, her expression softening slightly. She didn't notice the hint of coldness in Vincent's eyes. Vincent realized that Linda might really not love him. This realization drove him crazy. No matter how he acted, Linda seemed indifferent. When he was cold to her, she was cold too, always calm, not even bothering to look at him. When he showed interest in other women, acting out in various situations, Linda had just cleaned up his mess. Each time he felt like he was going insane. He'd rather Linda yell at him. hit him, curse him. Anything but this indifferent reaction. Once pretending to be drunk, he said some nasty things to her. Even through his drunken haze, he saw her calm face. And Vincent suddenly felt like a clown. He liked her and treated her well. She accepted it. When he stopped liking her, she didn't care either. He tried to break through her indifferent facade but found that she genuinely didn't care about him, even considering divorce. Vincent recollected himself and saw Linda downstairs, standing on her tiptoes to hang lights. Her face was always gentle and kind, yet she was famously tough in business. He remembered how others described her, the face of Little Red Riding Hood but the cunning of a sly wolf. Vincent suddenly remembered a phone call with his grandfather. He thought he knew what was best. They ended up getting divorced, and his credibility built over the years was exhausted, making Linda paranoid. Vincent knew that even if they stayed together, things would be the same as before. He didn't want her to suffer anymore, so he stopped pursuing her. They were always just one step away, then another step away, with too many unhealed wounds needing the balm of time. As long as she had no one else by her side, he could wait for her, Vincent thought firmly. As he looked at the city lights through the window, he picked up his phone, took a picture of the night scene and sent it to Linda. He actually missed her a bit.